video, we're going to go over deploying apps in the Inhouz Cloud App Builder. So I'm currently in the App Builder in our demo application. To deploy an application, all you need to do is click on the Launch button. You see a couple options. So you have an environment option because you can deploy to different environments. We currently have 3 environments: the development environment, the test, and production. So you can think of the dev environment as an environment for your developers to work in. The test environment is probably going to be used for training purposes if you're building applications. And then your production environment is where your live app, your true data is going to be. This is going to be the production version of your site. And this is going to be used by your end users. All right. So if you see, we have another option here called schedule launch. So you can also schedule, a deployment by simply just clicking on schedule launch, providing a date and a time zone. So this is going to default to whatever time zone you are currently in, and you could change it. And what's going to happen is that it's going to be deployed at that time for that specific time zone. All right. So for now, we're just going to simply deploy to our dev environment. Great. That's pretty straightforward. To see our live application, all we need to do is just click on the Navigate Live Site button. And as you can see here, we have our link to the development environment. So if you notice, the way this URL is configured, you have this subdomain of our app. We have our subdomain, we have the environments, then we have inhouseapp.io. And I guess a question would be, can you use custom domains? And the answer is yes, you can use custom domains in your production environments. But real quick, let's just click on this to go to our live application. As you can see, there's nothing here because, well, our application is, blank. So let's, drag and drop a heading to our application. I'm just going to change this text to say, hello world. That's it. Now I'm going to save this. I am then going to click on the launch. But if you notice what happened here, when I saved, the version went up by 1. So this is just like, the version control. If I were to go back to 0 to 170, I'm in version 170 where we have nothing. If I were to go to 171, so I'm back in the current version. So I'm just going to refresh and I'm going to just deploy 171. Now, before we deploy, if we go over here, we have something here where we see, the merge deployments. Here we can basically see the versions that were deployed. There's a button here to undeploy an application. So if I were to simply just click on this, I can undeploy an application. I can basically, merge a deployment. So I have version 170. I could merge that into the test environment, and I could also merge that into the production environments. All right, so let's go ahead and redeploy this to the dev environment by simply clicking on launch and then the launch button again. Now that this is done, I can go back to our application and refresh the page. And as you can see, it says hello world. All right. So let's talk about some other topics with regards to deploying applications. So with applications, you can have approval workflows. And this is basically when you say, okay, I want to have another person, approve a specific deployment. So if I go to my app settings, I can basically go down to the launch approval workflows, turn that on, and I can say, okay, I want to require approvals in the test environment. And then I can specify the number of approvals that I need. And then I could also specify who I want to be the approver. And in this case, I'm going to set the approver to myself and put my email there. All right. So I've updated my settings and I'm going to go ahead and save this. Perfect. gonna save this. So now, if I want to launch to my dev environment, it's a simple, straightforward process. But let's say I switch to my test environments. Well, I can no longer launch. It just says, well, send for approval. And if I wanted to launch to production, I can do that as well. And the only reason why it says send for approval is because I have, configured and basically stated that I want um, deployments to my test environments to be uh, approved by at least one person, and I've set myself as the approver. What if we want to go through the merge workflow and I wanted to merge my dev environment to the test? If I trigger that, it basically says send for approval. What if I do the same? Let's say I close this out, do that for production, it says merge. All right. So what we're going to do here is simple. We're going to just trigger a merge to our um, to our test environment. All right, and it's basically sent for approval. I've received an email that says, I have something in my approval queue. All I need to do right now is come to my launch approval page, and it basically just says, hey, the test environment requires approval. It's a pending approval. I can see here that I have one required approvers. Uh, I have zero approvals, and I have zero rejections. Okay. So I guess I must have sent this, I must have gotten the configuration wrong because I think I have, seems to be the right email, but go over here. You can basically view that version by just clicking on it, and it would redirect you to the version that is pending approval by just clicking on the review. And if the person who is logged in is the approver, then all they will need to do is just click on the approver. Uh, it will have a different button here that says approve, and then you would click on that. All right. So I made a mistake. I sent that to the wrong email. So let's go ahead and change that real quick so that we can demo that correctly. So if I go over here and edit this to Sam at inhouse.io, and then just edit the approver. All right, and I go back over to my application, and I say I want to launch to, let's say, the test environment, send for approval. Okay, so if I go into my launch approval, as you can see, it's now different. I can see an approve button. I can see a request change button. So now I see these things because I am the valid approver. I've set it's the correct email, and I could reject, and the developer will be notified that it's been rejected, or I could approve, right? So when it's approved and the required number of approvals has been met, the system would automatically deploy. Now, let's say the deployments were to fail for whatever reason, I could go ahead and force the launch. All right. So now let's go ahead and see if it was successfully deployed. If I were to go to see the live sites, let me just refresh real quick. Now I can see that there's a test environment, and I can click on that test environment, and it says hello world. All right. So that's pretty much a quick dive into deploying applications on the in-house platform. There are so many configurations. You could basically schedule your deployments. There are multiple environments. You can implement an approval workflow with with a required number of approvers, and this is perfect for protecting your production environment and making sure that whatever is deployed has been reviewed and approved. Before we end this video, let's go ahead and undeploy our test environment by simply clicking on the undeploy button, navigating to our merge deployments tab, clicking on the undeploy button in our test environments, saying okay to that. So now if we were to go back to our test environments, it says app not found. And if I were to refresh my page and try to see the live site, I can only see the dev because the test is no longer deployed. All right, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.